This podcast is sponsored by Goldbelly, shipping America's most iconic foods nationwide. Make this Thanksgiving one to remember with the original turducken, the viral pie cakin with decadent layers of cake and pie, and more. Plus, Black Friday is the perfect time to pre-order unique gifts they'll rave about for years. Use promo code GIFT for 20% off your first order on goldbelly.com. Goldbelly, America's best foods delivered.
Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who has helped me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Michelle Choairy for a second episode where we discuss in more depth raising a child that is challenging, but in this context, the child is neurodiverse, and God created every child, every person. We believe it's a matter of adapting to the person God created. And as Michelle explains, sometimes it's a matter of having to adjust to the reality that my child is, quote, not normal, however people define normal. And it is a matter of us adjusting to their neurodiversity. And she goes through the acronym THRIVE, T-H-R-I-V-E, and has a very definitive way of explaining how we can adjust to those who think just a little differently from us. Marty, what are some takeaways we can gain from this second episode with Michelle?
I think Michelle is reaching out to those parents that have a neurodiverse child. And so if you are a parent of that child and you are feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling like, where do I go from here? Contact Michelle, because she has been and is where you are right now too. She can really help you through what to do and how to handle, because these children are special. They're very normal, they just think different. And she is trying to work with society to help society to accept these children more and more.
Once again, it's a great learning opportunity because, yes, the fact is some parents initially grieve because of their child and learning how to adjust to them. Let's listen and learn together. Michelle, it's great to have you back with us for another episode where we left off last time talking about life experiences and how we get through different things. And you mentioned very briefly the acronym THRIVE, T-H-R-I-V-E, and grieving. And I'm just going to believe there are some of our listeners who are going through stuff, if I could just use that term somewhat very broadly, not to minimize anything but that people are going through. But I think, Michelle, you can help people deal with whatever life adversity they're going through. And it sounds like maybe the acronym Thrive might be a way to help people through. But Michelle, great to have you back with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love it. I always get so excited when people want me back because it feels like I'm hoping to help people, and so hopefully it was good enough on the first one and it will be better on the second time. So thanks
Well,
for
and
having
I
me.
tell you, Marty and I live by the axiom that the worst broadcast, the worst conversation, the worst speaking engagement I'll ever have was the last one because we're always improving.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I'm going to take that from you and share that with other people. So
Good.
love
That's
it.
all. That's all good. So, Michelle, everybody has a story someone needs to hear. You have that story. Somebody in our listening audience needs this, and they're going to say, "Wow, Michelle, this is exactly what I need."
Yeah, well, I hope so because we all go through things in life, right? For me, I'm coming to you as a mother of a complex kid, is what I call them. If the listeners didn't hear me before, I have a son who has a rare genetic disorder, and it's taken years. It took us years to figure that out, but we noticed that he was a little different in the beginning, and so. I I think that we left off when I was talking about grieving was when when you find out that you get pregnant and then you have this idea of what your family is going to look like, right? I'm sure my husband was thinking he's going to be an NBA player or an NFL player. For me, I was like, he's probably going to play music or he's going to love to dance. You kind of just have those things in your mind, right? That like, what are we going to do as a family? How's this going to be? How are we going to raise our children? And you make that up in your mind. You have, this things are going to happen. And in my life, things kind of changed a little bit. And it started when I was 29 weeks pregnant and I went to the doctor and I had no amniotic fluid. So the doctor came in and he said, "You got to go to the hospital right now." So they actually took me to the hospital across the street, and I was on bed rest for 3 weeks. And for 3 weeks, it was everything. I was hooked up to all these things. And anytime anything happened, we would have all these nurses come into the room because he was having his little heartbeat would like slow down a lot and then he would come back up. And every time that happened, they got worried, right? And so that was the beginning of what pregnancy looked like for me. So from the beginning, things were a little bit different as a mom, right? And then he was born at 32 weeks. He was 3 pounds. I'm not kidding you. He was tiny little thing. And I remember just hoping that he could cry because it was a C-section, so I couldn't see what was happening. And when they when they got him out, he cried, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he can breathe." Because during those 3 weeks, you have this conversation with doctors of, his lungs are not developed yet. We're not sure if he's going to be able to breathe on his own. We're not sure if these things are going to, like, they just don't know how the baby is going to be when he comes out. And I remember them putting him on me and me holding him for a couple seconds and then just taking him away to make sure that everything was okay with him. So that was like the very first thing, right, that I experienced. And then the the milestones weren't coming. They were, he was delayed when he was walking. He didn't speak. He grunted, but he couldn't speak. He didn't babble like mama, dada. He didn't say those things. And so it took him a while, a little bit longer to walk. And those things start happening and you start going, okay, you know, okay, he was very little when he was born, so maybe he's trying to catch up and he'll catch up later. And you just those things start happening and you start questioning in your mind what is happening here, right? Like, are there is there something else that I'm not seeing? So, um, as a mom, I knew that something was wrong. I had what I call mama gut, and you just feel it. And really, for a couple of years there, I think people thought that I was crazy because I would take him to the doctor, and I'm like, he is not eating. He's coughing, like he's doing. There's something here. There's something going on more than what it is that you are telling me. And people would look at me and just be like, I think that they thought that I was going crazy for real. And it wasn't until he was almost 3 years old that I was like, he's still not talking. So this is not right. And there were two types of people. There were the people who looked at me like I was making this up. And then there were the people who would come to me and say, don't worry about it. So and so didn't speak until they were 10. And you have the two people. You're either crazy or the other people who are like, oh, it's gonna be okay, and give you that sense of, I think that they mean it well, just to tell you so and so didn't speak until they were 10, just to say it's gonna be okay, whatever happens. And so, but that was when I became kind of more aware. And that was when he got his very first diagnosis, which was what we call childhood apraxia of speech. And we traveled with him to Connecticut. We're in California, and I had just had a baby. She was 4 months old, and I left her behind. And my husband and I, we took my 3-year-old son, and we went to Connecticut to see this speech therapist that we were told that could help us. And we spent a few days there. And the time that we were there, we found out that he had childhood apraxia speech. We found out that he had sensory processing disorder. But the good thing that happened from there was that we came back and we had a plan and we knew how to attack a couple of things, right? But as you receive these diagnoses, as these things start happening in your life as a mom, everything that you thought was going to happen in the future with your child, that dream that you had when you were pregnant, it's not the same. Doesn't match,
Let me
right?
interject right here,
Sure.
Michelle. And some of our listeners may be thinking, did you as a mom have kind of an ideal of what your child would be? And then as your child came about and developed, you're thinking, oh, he's not normal. And please, I hope I don't say something that is very offensive, but did you go through a thought process, something like that?
Of course, of course. Because, you want your child. We were so excited. Okay, well, at 3 years old, let's put him in little, in soccer. Let's take him to soccer. He didn't even know where to go. Like, I know that a three year olds, they usually don't know, but he would just go and cry. He didn't want to be there. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to kick a ball because he had and we found this out later. It's a motor planning issue, and that's what childhood apraxia of speech is. Um, they know what they want to do, they know what they want to say, but the muscles don't know how to work to make it you say it. Um, and so, of course, as a mom, you think that your child's going to be a soccer child, or they're going to play baseball, or they're going to, you know, I don't know, whatever it is that you think. Like, I think here at the house, we all thought that he was going to be an athlete because my husband was an athlete. I was a ballerina growing up, and so like we just thought, this is an athletic family, and he wasn't. He wasn't that. And so yeah, we you said the word normal, and it's true. It wasn't normal. It wasn't normal that I couldn't go to a dinner with my family and that he would sit next to us and eat. Like we had to take turns walking around with him because his ADHD was so bad. He just needed all this sensory input all the time. So it wasn't normal. And it's okay to say that. It wasn't the normal. I wasn't going to a restaurant and sitting down with my son to eat dinner, you know? And that's true. Like when things are not quote unquote normal is when you start seeing that and then it sets in, right?
And the setting in, would you categorize that as it's becoming reality? He's quote not normal, and the grieving process starts. Then, oh my, I'm going to have to adapt to something I have never experienced. Michelle, I'm not trying to put words where they're not, but I'm just wondering if there's something like that.
Ron, here's the thing. I think grieving anything in life, you go through the same process, right? You fight first. You don't want to see it at first. You kind of just push it off. And then the anger comes. Why is this happening to me? How come, this is happening? And then you come to a place of accepting and of acceptance, right? And I think that's when it sets in and you go, okay, this is what I have to work with. This is what I need to do. Now, what do I do with this? This is the decision that you have to make once that grieving process kind of goes through. And I almost feel like that is kind of towards the end of the grieving process. You accept it and then you go, okay, my life is different than what I thought it was going to be. And it could have been because of a child, because you lost a wife or a husband. It can be for anything that you're grieving. I think that that's what it takes you to to turn it into something else. Does that make sense? You have to accept that and you have to turn it into something else.
But Michelle, I want to say, you go out and people that don't understand, uh, and they expect you to have control of that child, or they expect the child to behave because they don't understand. Also, I don't think friends understand either if they're not expecting this. So that's, to me, a harder grief,
Mm-hmm.
because people see, I mean, sometimes, our grief is inner and they don't see that, but they do see
Mm-hmm.
you and your child, and you're fighting for your child.
Yes. Marty, you brought up such a good point because really, um, when you have a complex kid, you are very alone. There is, they, even when they mean the best and they really mean you like well wishes to you and when they mean well, they still don't know what it is that you're going through. So they kind of pull away because they don't know how to help you. I feel like some people, they don't know how to help you. Others just don't want to deal with it, so they just step away. And so, but you kind of isolate yourself because you don't know how to handle, quote unquote, handle your child. And you do get the looks, and I'll tell you, there was a story. So, we were at a restaurant, I think. Yeah, we were at a restaurant in Las Vegas because my husband's family's from Las Vegas. And he was having like the meltdown of his life. Like he was crying, he was kicking, and the people that were coming out of the restaurant, they would look at you like, get a hold of yourself, get him out of here. Or you could feel the judgment that was coming. And maybe they might not even have been judging, but you feel that judgment yourself because I can't handle my child. Like this is happening and I don't know what to do about this. Right. And you feel bad. And so you start not wanting to put yourself in those situations anymore. So we stopped. Like I would tell my husband, his family would come down and they wanted to go to dinner. I would just say, you go, I'll stay home because we didn't want to put that on his family. Like, go have a conversation. They want to catch up with us. And if we bring Drake with us, we're not going to catch up. It's just going to be, madness. And so we started doing those things. And so you isolate yourself a little bit. And so that's why it's so common for parents that have complex kids to feel so alone, so alone.
Michelle, what you just said, I think is very important for our listeners to totally comprehend that if our children, a child is, I'm going to use the term neurodiverse. Is that an
Yes.
inappropriate term?
No,
Okay.
that's a great term. I'm the one that came up with the complex kid, but neurodiversity is the word to be used today, so you're good.
All right. We have a complex child. We have a neurodiverse child, whatever the term, but in this context, they're all synonymous. And if you feel that going in public, people just don't understand, do you feel that, and maybe literally so, not just a feeling, that your friends tend to just drop away, meaning isolate from you? The friends that used to be really no longer are because, oh, you have a neurodiverse, you have a complex child. I don't maybe don't want to be associated with that the way they are
Hmm.
in public or whatever. Michelle, please, I hope you understand my heart in asking this question because we have a neurodiverse grandchild.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to. You don't like people only when you have a neurodiverse child or a complex child, you understand what it is that the others go through. And you got to remember, Ron, that there's a spectrum there too, right? There are the ones that are going to be a little bit mildly affected, but you also have the ones who are going to be very severely affected with this neurodiversity or this complexity of what the child is going to be. And I think, of course, the more severe, the worse the feelings, the harder the grieving, and the harder it is for other people to understand what it truly is that they're going through. As grandparents and looking at my mother and my dad when they were with us, and looking at my husband's parents, it's they truly want to help. They don't know how to help. And I mean, they would do anything for us, but they also didn't know how to do it. And so, and then it comes, the teaching and the communication and the part of how do, how me, how me as a mom, how can I allow my parents to help? How do I do that? And that is hard. That is really hard because I will tell you that I didn't know what I needed most of the time. I was just trying to survive, right? And sometimes all you need is somebody to come and stay with them for, 30 minutes so you can take a longer shower and actually do your hair. Sometimes what you need is for somebody to come over and say, "Hey, I'm going to stay with your child And so you can go watch a movie. But then it is hard. And you, me as a mom, I would feel bad because I know that they didn't know how to handle, quote unquote, handle my child. And so it wasn't until later on in life that I felt a little bit okay with leaving them with the grandparents. But it was we isolated ourselves a lot. We truly did. And then go ahead, Ron. I can see that you
And
have a question.
as you have learned through life how to work with and assimilate yourself with and so forth, is that how the acronym Thrive came about? That you can, through your life learning, you've had to learn how to deal with, but you know that, and I sense you're very, very appropriately empathetic that, yep, understand what you're going through. And I just
Yeah.
want to pass on to you what I have learned through this. Michelle, again, I don't want to try to suppose that
Oh no.
all of this is correct, but I'm just supposing.
Yes. So the Thrive came about 3 years ago. And it was because I was trying to put together, like, for the past 5 years, actually the majority of Drake's life, people would come to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they had younger children that were neurodivergent or complex, and they would come to me and they would be like, "Okay, so you found somebody in Connecticut and you went to Connecticut, and then you came back and then you had a map, a road map on what to do. So what is it that you're doing? How do I get speech therapy approved through the insurance company so I don't have to pay out of pocket? How did you get your child into the school district when he was 3 years old? And then he was going to school from 8 to 1 with help at school." And people would come to me with these questions. And because I will tell you this, Ron and Marty, like, there is a lot more parents out there going through this than we actually realize. Right now, the rate of autism in the country is 1 out of 34 children.
Mhm.
So it is getting, higher and higher. So anyway, so people would come to me, and then I kind of was trying to figure out, okay, let's put this into, like, what did I do? And so I started going through it. And the first, and, you know, I was just being kind of, I don't know, the Thrive came about. So the T means teamwork. And what I did from the beginning of my son's life is I built a medical team around him who knew who my child was. So I had a pediatrician who knew who he was. I had a speech therapist who knew exactly what it was that he needed, and she was trained on what he had, which was childhood apraxia speech. We had an occupational therapist who knew that he had sensory processing disorder, so he knew how to help my child. And then out of that, then I still went and I got what's called the developmental pediatrician, who are they are trained in these types of things. So they're trained in neurodivergency. They're trained in this developmental disorders that the kiddos have. So I built that team around him because they were the ones that had at least some of the answers for my child, right? So you built that. So that's the T that I came up with from Thrive.
Great.
The H was what I call the help systems. And this one is a big one because this is something, and it's probably one of the most complicated parts of Thrive. And the help systems are going to be your school district, because you have to know how to navigate the school district. Once they're 3 years old, they go through the school district. And so they develop, which is called an IEP, individualized educational program plan. And so so you have to learn the language You have to learn how to talk to the teachers. You got to learn how to talk to the speech therapist. You got to learn how to talk to the principal. You got to, all of these things. So we go over, you learn about school districts. Then you have the insurance companies. Oh my gosh, the insurance companies. Oh, so you have to fight with them for them to cover certain things. You have to learn their lingo. You have to learn how they talk. You have to learn how to get out of network benefits. You have to learn the insurance lingo. And then you have the other part of this, which is the government programs that they have out there for early start, which is when the kids are from 0 to 3 years old. And then the kiddos that are accepted, that are accepted into the program at 3, they usually stay on until they are in adulthood. They're usually a little bit more complex, and so, but the state funded programs, if you are in that program, then you can get certain benefits that come from that. So that's the H. So that's a lot right there on the H. The R for me are the relationships. And it's kind of what we just talked about, right? It's having a team of your friends around you, family. How do you bring everybody together? Like in my family, my husband and I, we had to work things through this madness that it was. We had to, how do you stay together? How do you tell a grandparent like what is happening? How do you tell your daughter who's neurotypical about your neurodivergent child? How do you pull all of this together? That's the part on the relationships that I talk about, the R. Then the I is the integration. And this is when you have to remember that if you're not well, your child's not going to be well. So you need to take care of yourself. And this is probably the very first thing as a mother that goes out the window. You don't care about yourself anymore. Like it's all about your child, right? Like you forget about yourself. So that's the I, is you got to take care of yourself. If you're not well, your child is not going to be well. Then the V is the validation. And this is when you celebrate the small wins. And they are small. Like I remember, I have a video of when my son said his first word independently without us actually like asking him to say. And it was more. It wasn't mom, it wasn't dad, it was more. He wanted more. And so those are, you celebrate those very small wins because those wins are what's going to get you going. It's going to keep you going every day. Because if your expectation is up here, you have to go little by little until you get up there, right? And so like you'll be a very depressed person if you don't celebrate those small wins. And then the E is you expect the miracle. And if you do all of this that we talked about, you're going to look back and you're going to look at your child and you're going to see the miracle that has become because of the things that you have done as a parent. And so the miracle will come. So that is Thrive.
I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group, to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level to where we soar together. Let's work together. Wow, that's just great. I want to ask you about the I integration, something that just seemed to be very prevalent to me. Know yourself. And I'm going to ask you, Michelle, do you at times just have to call a lifetime out because my emotional battery is drained? My energy is drained. I've got nothing in me to give. I need a lifetime out. Do you sometimes think that, well, I should be doing better than this, that you just keep driving and driving, even though, or maybe you have to just uh, understand the reality that, hey, my tank is dry, I need a break, so to speak. Are those some of the thoughts that you go through your mind?
Oh, of course. Like sometimes you look at it and you go, I have done everything that I had in my power to do. And there's two sides. One is I just don't know what else to do anymore. And then there's the side, I just can't keep going, right? We are in about 3 weeks ago. If you had, was it 3 weeks ago? Yeah, 3 weeks ago. If you had interviewed me 3 weeks ago, we were going through a very, very tough time with my son. We were changing medications. We were trying to figure out how to help him better. But to get better, we had to go backwards. And for a couple of weeks there, it was awful. And I would get home and I would look at my husband and I'm like, I just don't know what else to do. And then I would go to bed and I would cry. And so, because really it's like, I don't know what else to do. I'm doing everything and this is not helping. And then, the next day you get up and you go, okay, well, let's do this again, right? But the good thing is that when you have the village, the relationships around you, you can call a lifeline, right? You can say, "Hey, I need help." And so we developed. We have some people around us who are really good with my kids. And so one day they like she was actually our nanny for a while, and she came in and she took both the kids for a few hours, and she's like, yeah, it was crazy. He couldn't stop, he couldn't stop himself because we had decreased some of the medication. And she came back and she gave me a couple of hours and I was like, okay, now I can take this on again, right? You take a breath and then you go and you keep doing it every day. So if you are in that relationship, that village that these families need, that is probably one of the best things that you can do for them is to go and give them a little bit of time and help that way.
Now, with relationships, would you or Rick be offended if we as grandparents just said, I just sense you two need a half day, full day, week long date week. Let us come in and help you. Now, in the context of relationships, that has to take a lot of trust and so forth.
Yes.
But what I'm asking really, Michelle, could you be offended by saying, hey, I sense you need let's just say a week long date week break?
I would welcome it with both arms. And I was like, yes, please. But as a mom too, I will say this, we will have the worry in the back of our minds that we're not worried about the kids so much. We worry about you guys
Yep.
more so than we worry about the kids. So for me, what was hard about giving that up and giving, allowing people to help me was that, oh my gosh, they're going to see what it's like. And I don't know if they're going to like what they're seeing. And so, and then you feel bad because you're putting the grandparents into a situation that that they are not 100% fully aware of what it's going to be. So I'm just letting you know that if you offer and a mother says, "Oh, I don't know," just know that they're not thinking about the child, they're thinking about you guys.
You
They're
know, and
not worried about them.
I do appreciate that. I know with many, it may be a very large percentage of neurodiverse people, what worked, what was helpful 1 hour ago won't necessarily work now. And we are continuously adapting to, and sometimes you just run out of ideas. I'm exasperated. I don't know what else I can do. I am expressing us as grandparents with our neurodiverse granddaughter. I can clearly sense it with our daughter and son-in-law, and we want to be there when it's appropriate to help where we can. We too can, I'm not sure it's exasperated, but let's just say Marty and I, we can definitely run out of energy because, boy, it's just something different all the
It
time.
is.
And if left alone, our granddaughter would be happy being on the iPad for weeks on end type thing. We can't allow
Hmm.
that to happen. And so at any rate,
Yeah.
these are just some of the things we go through. We as grandparents have got to be innovative to think, okay, well, we've got to keep her active or she's going to get bored. And
Yes.
there's got to be something different every 15 minutes, so to speak. That's not too far off from being reality.
Also, I think we have to bend. They don't bend, we bend.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. It's you know, the grandparents grew up in a different generation, right? That's why they're grandparents. And
Mhm.
so things are different. They are different. But there are places. So you know what my in-laws used to do with my kids? They used to get them and they would take them to those trampoline places or the little kids places where they can go in the jungle gym and things like that because there's something to do every 15 minutes like Ron said. And because there's so much to do just in one area. So we did that a lot when they were younger, when the kids were younger, because it gave them stuff to do during that time. As they get older, things are a little bit different. But I will tell you that last weekend we went to this trampoline place. I took my kids. My son is 11, my daughter is 8. And for 2 hours, all they did was jump on those trampolines. And then it gave me a little bit of time to do my homework because I'm taking some new classes on becoming an advocate for other children besides my own. And so it gave me some time to actually study as they were jumping, right? Because if you were at home and me on the computer, it would be every 2 minutes. Mom, I'm bored. Mom, I'm bored. Mom, I'm bored. And but those are just, and there's so many other things that you can do as if you're trying to help a family who has a neurodivergent child. There's a lot of things. It's just remember that if they are hesitant of allowing you to do those things, it's more about being hesitant on you than it is on the children.
And I think, Michelle, in the long term, and I'm not clinical, but I just hope that we can learn those neurodivergent children's strengths. I just choose to believe every one of them has a strength. We
Hmm.
build on that, And in the context of relationships, we find those employers, other family members, other people who are willing to work with, adapt to. And when we put this team together, and I like your acronym, when we put this team together, we can help those who are neurodivergent, challenged, whatever the term may be. We can find their, Marty and I use the term sweet spot, and
Mm-hmm.
we can, in fact, help them become very viable people. God created these children. It's up to us to adapt to them and help them become the very best God intended them to be. That's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
my synopsis of where we are.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you.
Well, Michelle,
I just want to ask, are you finding people becoming a little more accepting of hiring these children?
Yes, so there are actually, so I'm in California and we're very neurodiverse here in Orange County where I am. And I've known everywhere in the country there's so much more awareness being brought upon this. And I think it's because of the sheer volume of the kids out there that are having and receiving these diagnoses. And so, there are still the ones that are not as open to it, but all of the associations, the foundations, and you can see that people around the world is they are really trying to open this up to people. I will tell you one thing. So we were in Brazil. I'm from Brazil. My family's from there. And we went down there for Christmas last year. And they actually have, like, if you have a neurodiverse child or if you are, they actually let you cut in front of the line. They have a line just for the neurodivergent kids. And the reason they do that is because they know that they can't stay in line. I go to Disneyland with my son. We have an app that allows us to still wait for the rides that are going to be coming, but you have the chance of waiting outside of the line. So you're not in line waiting for 2 hours to get into one of the rides at Disneyland, for example. So things are changing, and I see that things are changing in the world, and they're being more accepting and they're understanding. Obviously, there's a lot of people who take advantage of the system, and that is awful. But you try to bring these systems into place so you can, like, so the kids can access things that in the past they wouldn't be able to. Like I would never take my son to Disneyland to wait in line for 2 hours. There's absolutely no way I would do that. So they figured out a way that you can. They adapted the way that you can do this. Same thing with schools, right? It wasn't until 1975 that something came about, and back then it was the Children's Handicap Act. And that's when kids started coming to school. Kids who had, um, neurodiversity or handicapped or whatever it was that in the past, special needs, that's when things started happening was with that law that was created in the United States, 1976. And so 75. So we've come a long ways. And I think that we're going to continue to see these changes happening. And I really hope to see more changes happening.
well, and I believe those changes will happen, Michelle. And as we learn more about neurodiversity challenges, as we learn from each other and so forth, we're gaining information as we choose to integrate with, be a part of the team, develop relationships, and so forth. I think this is all going to be synergistic. I don't think I have an unrealistic hope in this, but I think the more we learn, the greater the opportunities we will have to work with each other. But Michelle, on behalf of our listeners, I want to thank you for sharing. and your life experience. We together will continue to work together. And again, I want to emphasize, we, all of us in this larger community, are looking for those who choose to work with us, team with us, choose to adapt to, employ these who are neurodiverse. They have talents, and we just need to adapt to them. Let's make ourselves known, and let's form I'm going to say a community, again, the team, where we work together to the benefit of those who are neurodiverse. Michelle, thank you from our heart for sharing. Let's continue our dialogue.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life's experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.